This is Mark Melikowski with Dead On. I think we're on our fourth episode here, and glad to have everybody on board. And I've got Dan Kotke, who's one of the founders of Apple and a computer genius, and he's going to cover some interesting high-tech topics. We're going to talk about blockchain and Bitcoin, and also some engineering issues a little later on. I'm here broadcasting, as you can tell from my background, from the bright side of the moon, and I think we'll just kick it off right now. Now, Dan, how are you doing this evening?
All right. I'm enjoying the tan that I have on this setup.
You're looking good. Hey, so blockchain, I read a book about blockchain. What part of it was about blockchain, and I became more and more confused. What I understand about blockchain is a string of numbers that anyone can see, but it's very hard to decipher. And so even though it's out in public, it has a private aspect to it. Is that kind of close to what it's about? Not at all.
All right. The whole thing, it's complicated. It took me a long time to fix. So I'm an advisor for 3 blockchain companies. And I agreed to do that to give me an excuse to learn all about it, because I'm a computer geek and I like learning this stuff. The way to think of blockchain is it's like your grocery receipt. Every time there's a transaction, you get a little printed receipt that gives the date and the numbers, right?
Right.
That, if you imagine all of the grocery receipts from your whole life and digitize it, that's a blockchain.
Okay.
Okay. So a blockchain is just an endless series of transactions listing something that went from someone to someone else. Okay. It's conceptually very simple. The thing that gets complicated is to try and use that to make money. Okay. And the thing that is a little bit perverse about Bitcoin, you want to ask about Bitcoin, I assume, right?
Well, yeah, we're going to go in the next one, but we can mix them together. There's no problem. I mean, there's a bunch of different cyber currencies, right? But Bitcoin's the most popular, the most famous.
Oh, there's hundreds of cyber currencies. But Bitcoin was the first that was an experiment that hasn't failed yet. So as far as that goes, it's very much of interest from a computer science point of view, because it hasn't failed. It could have failed in any number of ways, and it hasn't. However, it has drawbacks. So anyway, blockchain as blockchain just means a file that is a list of blocks. Okay, and each block is one transaction.
Okay, all right.
So, the way in the normal world of US dollars, there's a cash register. Every time money goes in or goes out, it gets registered on a tape inside the cash register. That's kind of a blockchain right there. Right. Anyway.
And so the same thing would be if you had.
Would you like to know now?
And so, like, if employees could do a time clock, and that'd be like a blockchain in a way.
Time clock is kind of a blockchain.
Okay.
It's just a record of transactions.
And what's the advantage of using a blockchain kind of out on a cloud as opposed to just using a server like you'd usually use and having your own personal kind of server instead of using the blockchain? What's the advantage or disadvantage?
Well, okay. The purpose here was to make money. Okay. That is to say, Bitcoin is a unit of currency, which means nobody can screw with it. Okay. Right. And yet it's supposed to be decentralized. And so it's actually a big challenge to architect it so that people can contribute to it, but not mess with it. Oh, okay. And so you can't explain it all in 10 minutes. Maybe I understand it all now, but it took me quite a while to figure it out, because if you just read the white paper about Bitcoin, it doesn't tell you all it doesn't really explain how it works. But to give you the basics, here's the basics of Bitcoin. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who are in the Bitcoin network who are running the same blockchain. And a new block is created every 10 minutes. Okay.
Right.
So in the world of money, that's a long time. That's a lot. Like if you want to use Bitcoin to buy something, you have to enter it on a computer and then wait 10 minutes for that block to be finished and published.
Okay.
And once it's published, then it is actually a transaction.
So you're saying there's a lag. There's a 10 minutes lag. There's a 10-minute lag every time.
In the case of Bitcoin, yes.
Okay.
Other currencies are much faster, but Bitcoin is slow. But if you think of it, it's a worldwide system. So to think that all of the transactions in the whole world being done on Bitcoin can be handled in one block, it's kind of boggles the mind. Now, the thing that's confusing about Bitcoin, one of the things is if it gets over, so as surge, they, sometimes they're high, sometimes they're low. Okay, in the middle of the night when not much is going on, maybe the blocks only come every 10 minutes. But if transactions are fast, there could be more blocks. Okay. Now, the main thing you have to understand about Bitcoin is the way it works is there is a hashing algorithm. So you take all the text in the block. Okay. Right. And the block might only be 1,000 bytes. It's tiny. It's relatively tiny amount of data. You run a hash function on it and you get a number at the end.
Right.
Okay. And in order to win the lot, about the lottery of Bitcoin. So the whole clever thing about Bitcoin is that all the processing worldwide to process and publish the blocks is a competition. And there are hundreds and probably thousands of people mining Bitcoin. And the way you mine Bitcoin is you're listening to all the transactions, you're making a block, then you have to pick a random number, run the hash function. And if the random number matches the prize, you win the lottery and you get awarded Bitcoins.
See, I didn't even know there was a lottery on Bitcoin. I wasn't aware of that. So that's news.
It's a lottery. Every single block is a lottery between all the miners. You could hit
the big time at any time. Okay, right.
Well, you can steadily, if you have a, what's that?
The more transactions you do, the more lottery tickets you're buying, is what you're saying.
Yes, and the more Bitcoins you'll win. I mean, there's only a few thousand miners. There's not hundreds of thousands. There's only a few thousand that you're competing with. So if you're mining continuously, you're going to be winning if your computer's fast enough. But then there's the whole other topic that the Bitcoin mining can't be done by amateurs anymore. It's all done in huge data centers with powerful cooling systems.
Right.
And which gets at the bad part about Bitcoin, which is it's extremely inefficient for energy usage. So Bitcoin is currently using as much energy as the entire country of Chile. 2 years ago, it was using as much energy as the whole country of Denmark. That made the headlines. Okay. Chile is a lot bigger than Denmark, I guess. Anyway, it's 75 terawatt hours per year, which is a huge amount of energy. And all it's doing is just maintaining the viability of the whole Bitcoin network. Okay, so it's really not an efficient use.
Dan, we're going to wrap up this little section and we're going to move on to another episode. And just this gives us a little break. And so now we're going to talk about, that was more of the blockchain. Now we're going to talk specifically about Bitcoin and how does Bitcoin relate to other banking systems. So anyway, that's the end of that segment. For Dead On for the segment on blockchain, a little bit on Bitcoin, and good evening, everybody, and thanks for watching.